On this week's FAS TV, we visit Southton Smallholding near Perth, which provides therapeutic work for adults with learning disabilities and additional support needs. Southton Smallholding exists to create an inclusive community where team members feel valued and empowered, and build confidence and transferable skills which can be applied to other aspects of their lives. Members help to look after hens, sheep, pigs, goats, alpacas and geese, as well as growing fresh vegetables for sale through their popular Veg Box scheme.
Every single spring when I see that first seed pop above the soil, I just get this zing of excitement. Another season. The great thing about growing things is you always get another chance. If it all goes pear-shaped one year, you can start again and do it another way the next year. And I think someone once said to me that I don't just grow vegetables, I grow people. So I think maybe they maybe saw it best. Welcome to Southton Smallholding. My name's Norma Forbes and I'm the manager of the smallholding. We are a smallholding run for the benefit of adults with learning disabilities. They come to us 4 days a week. Not everyone comes every day, but some come 4 days, some 3, some just the one. The smallholding started in about 25 years ago, and we have developed from a very small amount of people coming. There was about 3 or 4 people that started, and we're now up to 17 adults with learning disabilities attend this place. I personally have been here 20 years, just passed my 20th year last month. It has grown with land and with the number of people and what we can offer here. We grow lots of different vegetables, mainly things that we can stretch our vegetable box scheme season for. So we start off in the polytunnels in the early part of the year and then move out to the outside gardens. We grow anything you can really possibly grow in Scotland, from, well, melons we can grow in our polytunnels, and of course the obvious tatties, carrots, onions, that type of thing outside. But we try to stretch the season by having some in the tunnels, which helps at both ends of the year. We have a hectare of garden that we have 3 polytunnels on, and the rest of the garden is grown in a no-dig system. The farmer helps us out with moving a lot of the compost, which we get from local green waste compost mostly, apart from our own compost, and the farmer helps us move that at times. Our animals, we have 3 wonderful alpacas, we have 2 goats and 2 kuni pigs. People ask us what they're for, because we don't breed them and we don't cull them for meat. So they are purely therapeutic, although we do obviously use the manure as part of our system for the garden. But we find that a lot of our team members, especially those with anxiety issues, find them very calming. And often, for all the best reasons, people that have offspring that have learning disabilities are quite afraid to let them near large animals. And they have a fear of dogs, of larger animals such as that. So we find that with our animals who are used to people, that it's really good for them to get confidence, and they can build up a relationship with these animals if they don't have an animal at home. If someone's having a bad day, I'll just tell them to go and feed the goats or something like that. Any spare leaves or fruit that's gone bad or anything like that, we would give to the animals as well. They are not organic, although we grow organically for the gardens and for the animals. We were gifted the garden area that we have now about 12 years ago, and it was certified organic ground, which we were really excited to have. But sadly, we found that the strictures and rules to remain organic status just wasn't working for us. We had to use different dung, things like that, that even if we had newspaper in our hen shed, we couldn't use the dung from that because the newspapers were considered non-organic. We found that the seed was difficult to get because we had to use certified organic suppliers, so we couldn't take advantage of cut price seeds. We couldn't use seed swaps. Our customers for our vegetable box scheme weren't at all concerned that we weren't certified organic. They were happy in the fact that we grew peat-free and grew organically without the use of pesticides or growth enhancers. So we weren't getting the premium that we would normally have had for certified organic. So we took the decision after 2 years of being certified to drop the certification for that reason. But we have the advantage that the farmer is not spraying anything near our gardens, so we have no drift. So that gives us a real benefit. Our vegetable box scheme has been very successful right the way through the time that we have been here. I could sell my veg boxes 3 times over. The demand is huge. The way we work it, people sign up for a minimum of a year. That means that we can get good long-term customers. They sign up for a year, they pay monthly by monthly direct debit, it's a subscription, so that we have an even income. We make around £4,000 a year from our veg box scheme. From March to the end of May, they are fortnightly, and then from the beginning of June to the end of November, they are weekly. December, January and February, there are no boxes at all. However, they still pay during this time. Again, it keeps it an even keel. We worked it out, we're about £10.50 per box, which is very reasonable. In the summer, that is a really good deal, but obviously at the beginning and at the end of the season, it can be quite slim pickings. And hopefully that compensates for the lack of veg at the early part. We don't buy in anything. Whatever we have in our veg boxes, we have grown. The people that come here come from a mixed range of disabilities. Our ethos here is very much social inclusion. It's our mainstay of our organisation. The team members, as we always call them, rather than clients or anything of that nature, but our team members tend to be on the autistic spectrum, mild to moderate learning disabilities, or have Downs. We also have volunteers that come here. Many of them have had mental health issues. Some are recovering from drink or drug issues. We've had ex-offenders here. And other people that come here are just those that perhaps have retired and are looking for something else to do to get themselves out of the house just to help the community. We are very fortunate to have a good team of people to help us here. The skills that they learn, many are very much practical skills, learning how to sow seeds, learning how to prick out and pot on, learning how to trim tomato plants, for instance. There's these practical sides, how things grow they learn, but there's other soft skills they're learning. Things like social interactions, things like doing as they're told, when they're told, which sometimes they can be a wee bit spoiled, but if they're part of the team, they're not going to get away with what mum and dad will let them away with. We try to keep it as realistic as possible, that if they're misbehaving, if they're not pulling their weight, they'll get told so in a moderate and an appropriate way. The other skills I think that they learn very much is that we try, as they get more skilled themselves, to pass on the skills to other team members. So they will take a wee group under supervision and teach them something they've learned over the years. So they're always developing, we're always trying to develop. We haven't got formal qualifications for them as yet, but we are looking into working with the local college to perhaps get working towards modules for rural skills of that nature. But the young man who's now working in a school, he was able to get confidence from here to be able to work part-time in the school, and he can tell people about the vegetables that he's cooking for the school kids because he knows how they grow. He's learned it from us. The biggest advice I would give anyone who's looking into doing a community style project is to aim the project at the people that you're doing it for. Our output is a byproduct of our work here, in effect. The people that come here are our main concern. A lot of other projects, the gardeners especially, were very proud of their garden, very, very wonderful, look at what we produce. But really, the people who came there were not involved. It's really important to my mind to involve the client group. The whole point of them being here is not for the vegetables, it's for us being here, it's for them. I find that other projects are short term, and that is not a good idea. You need to have long-term projects, you need to give stability to a project for it to succeed. I think farmers in the past have been very open to having people with learning disabilities, somebody that would come and sweep the yard, feed the animals in the morning, do wee bits around the farm. These days it tends to be far more technical, and farmers are more afraid to have someone with a learning disability in case they did something wrong or they'd be liable. But I think with a bit of patience and a wee bit of understanding, the people with disabilities could be very useful around the farms. There's no reason why not.
My name is George Bosworth, and my role here is the manager of Southton Smallholding, but also manage the Build Retreat Centre, which the smallholding feeds with their vegetables as well. So it's a Christian retreat centre, so they offer space for people to come in nature to enjoy the trees, the wonderful food that comes from here, an art space, there's a chapel, and there's also a large gallery space for artists as well. It's important to me personally because my own son has additional support needs, a learning disability, and he lived with us here for the first 4 or 5 years that we were here. And although he didn't partake in the actual work, because he didn't like getting his hands dirty, I understand the importance of offering quality therapeutic work to adults with learning disability, and also understand the full impact that something like this has, as opposed to wandering around the streets, going to the cinema or going shopping because there's nothing else, no activity for them. This is a real place of work for people. They come here either half a day a week or 4 days a week, and this becomes their life. This becomes their career, as it were, and as well as doing the work, they get a lot of enjoyment out of being in the place as well. So when I first came here, literally could count the pennies in my hand that we had. We relied on grant funding on a year-to-year basis, which is not always reliable, and a lot of other projects do this as well, and at the end of a 3-year funding project, the project just stops. I didn't want that to happen. What I wanted to do was actually secure the future of this smallholding for what it did. I wasn't thinking about investment, I wasn't thinking about expanding in any way. So I went to social work, and because I understand the system, went to social work and offered them 12 placements. We had 5 at the time, 12 placements if they were willing to pay for 1 member of staff. And they said no. My previous position when I was working as a surveyor, I was also volunteering for the council, and I worked on the self-directed support system for South Ayrshire Council. And I brought all that knowledge with me, and it was just beginning here. So I put into place the self-directed support system that works for social work. So an adult with a learning disability can opt to have the money allocated to them, and they choose how to spend it, as opposed to a social work spending on their behalf. So I tapped into that and said, well, we'll offer this number of placements if you pay, at that time it was £25 a day towards the cost of people working here. And everybody said yes, social work said yes, and from that small beginning, as more money came in than we were spending, I was able to then take on more staff. We were able to expand tenfold at the time, and that's built up over the years, and that's 17 years now I've been here, about 12 years that we've been running that financial model. We're now up to £50 per day per adult with learning disability, or pro rata. So if they're only here half a day, obviously we charge that. There's a couple of people who don't get self-directed support. So we, as a charity, we offer a concession on that. So we offer a 50% concession on that. And we have in the past accepted people without any contribution at all because we can. We're not for profit. I now have 2 full-time staff. They pay for my time. I only operate 10% of my full-time job managing the smallholding. When I first came here, I said to Norma, I don't know anything. I don't even know what a smallholding is. And she said, oh, that's great. I don't want that. I want somebody to manage it. Well, I have a military background, so managing things is relatively straightforward. So my job was to make sure there was enough money, enough resources, and then as the money came in and we had spare money, we started to invest in more polytunnels, more ground, expanding the space. We do apply for grants. The toilet block was a grant funded, and we've had grants for polytunnels. We've also had grants from corporate. So I am happy to accept corporate volunteers here for the day, 10, 12, whatever it happens to be. We put them to work. I say with a military background, these things don't bother me. I'm quite happy to put people to work. They get a good return out of it. They get a nice jolly day in the sunshine with a picnic. Often they're meeting members of their team for the first time. A lot of them work from home, and we get a bit of hard work out of them for the day. And if they're very tired at the end of the day, they're not here the next day. They can rest from that point of view. So we work with the community. We accept volunteers from all sorts of different grounds and backgrounds. If we can offer them something that will help them get over their mental health issue, their loneliness, or their need to work following retirement. At the moment I have a retired joiner who came to us immediately after retirement, didn't want to stop working, and out of that we've got some wonderful wooden buildings that we're just finished building, which will be great for the horticultural team over the winter. Well, what I see is that they get a real job. They're actually come in, they have to work, they have to follow in the normal health and safety regulations, less pressure than a normal work, but they get the therapeutic benefit of being outdoors, physical work, which helps them sleep and eat. We had an adult with learners who came here for the first time with autism, non-verbal, never done any physical work. His hands were as smooth as silk, and he saw me hammering some nails into the goat pen. And he just looked at us, I gave him the hammer, and we just taught him how to hammer. And the team went back and said that's the first time he's ate his evening meal in full and slept all night. So that's fresh air and a little bit of exercise, and just trusting that we work in teams. There's a lot here. We've achieved a huge amount. None of that would be possible without working with these guys in teams. And we've all just worked together. It's slow, and it can be frustrating at times, but we get it done, and they seem to enjoy it as well. I also get a lot of joy out of this, but I see the joy that everybody else gets out of it as well. And when somebody comes to me and say, is it possible for me to do this? I will say yes, and then work out what's the best way to do this to get the best out of them. Seeing the results, seeing the progress, seeing the fact we can offer a huge amount to community, because it's not just the smallholding team as well. We have 2 allotments for school pupils who are struggling at school, and we've offered them that space as well. And just to see, they came to us and said, oh, you've got to watch them, they're really badly behaved. Well, they're not badly behaved with us, because we're giving them something they can relate to. They're not academic, but they can relate to something working in the ground. Seeing some of the kids come in and picking a potato out the ground for the first time, never seen a vegetable grow in the ground. All these sort of little things, and seeing the joy that these guys have, even at the end of a hard working day, they're still laughing and joking. To me, you can't pay for that. You can't bottle that. That's just sheer joy, and it's great pleasure to be able to offer things like that to the community.